Welcome to the Dan Casper Show podcast, your chance to catch the full show anytime, anywhere. If you missed it live on the radio, no worries. We've got you covered with all the sports talk, opinions, interviews, and conversations from the show. From the Packers to the Brewers to the biggest stories in sports and around Wisconsin, it's all right here. This is the Dan Casper Show podcast. All right, here we go. Second hour kicks off right now on this Wednesday morning of August 12th. Thanks for hanging out with us here this morning and making us a part of your start. We'll continue to talk some more Packers here in just a skosh as we get set for preseason game numero uno tomorrow, as the Pack will take on the Pittsburgh Steelers or Green Bay East tomorrow night, preseason game number 1. We spent a big portion of the first hour chatting some Brewers baseball as the Brewers falling yesterday to the Pods, 11-2. Brewers will try to avoid being swept later today. Dustin May is going to go in on the mound for his second start as a Brewers pitcher. 3:10 first pitch. You can listen to that game again on the radio dials of 105.1 FM and 790 AM. Coverage will begin about 35 minutes prior. On a scale of 1 to 10, Brewers fans, where are you at on the sweat scale or the pressure scale, nervous scale, whatever the heck we want to call this thing? We should come up with a good name for this scale. But on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you at on this? Are you starting to get a little nervous, considering injuries, Cubbies playing well, schedules for both Brewers and Cubs? Brewers just up 4 on the Cubs, and they got the Dodgers after the Padres today. Are you starting to get a little nervous? We're at about a 5.5, maybe a little closer to 6 now, with where some Brewers fans are at in terms of where they're nervous and how much they're nervous. So don't forget, it is a What If Wednesday, so give me a fun sports what if. Also give me a fun sports, what are we doing here? Like if there's a sports story or news thing out there where you're just like, what are we doing here? I know it was yesterday, but let's have a little fun with this, okay? So I posted it up on my Facebook page. Don't forget, you can go follow at facebook.com//Dan Casper Sports. Yesterday, the Packers turned 107 years young. $107. 107. So I posted 3 questions, and you could go comment on it. A lot of you did. Or you can just send them on over if you want, whatever works best for you, whatever you want to do, okay? 3 questions. Who is your favorite Packer person? It could be a player, it could be a coach, it could be a general manager. Doesn't just have to be player. Number 2, your favorite memory. And then number 3, all right, the tough one, the best player. Some of the responses on my Facebook, we got Surveyor Sam saying tie between Donald Driver and Aaron Jones for their favorite Packer person. Favorite memory, Packers Steelers Super Bowl, watching hundreds of people pour out of the bars and restaurants in downtown Hudson just to flip off Minnesota across the river. Number 3, Rodgers for best player in its history. Andy says Leroy Butler, William Henderson for his favorite. Aaron Rodgers to Cobb versus the Bears, Bart Starr. Lance says his favorite was Charles Woodson. Favorite memory, my first Packers game, which was the last they had ever played at County Stadium in Milwaukee. Brett won the game on a dive into the end zone. Unfortunately, Sterling got hurt in that game. He returns to the field 1 or 2 games later, only to get injured further, which ended his career. Favre changed the Packers forever for best Packer player. Terry says favorite player was Rodgers. Comeback win against the Saints, early 90s by Favre, got me to pay attention to football at a young age. And then best player, Bart Starr. Jenny says their favorite player was Walter Stanley. Favorite memory, Thanksgiving Day, 1986. See the answer to number 1 if you know. If you know, you know. Number 3, Brett Favre for best player. Brian says Favre was his favorite player. Super Bowl 31 favorite memory. In my lifetime, Favre was the best. Overall, Don Hudson. Paul says Gilbert Brown. Super Bowl 31, Brett Favre. Kyle, Reggie White. My first game I attended, Christmas Eve versus the Bucs 2000, and Aaron Rodgers. Steve says Reggie White. being at the Mud Bowl in person, Rogers. And so those are just a few. Not going to go through all of them, but you could go to my Facebook page and chime in if you'd like on that. Surprise resident Packers fan C-Bomb didn't answer that one. Oh, excuse me, I had to sneeze. Speaking of C-Bomb, he just chimed in and said sweat scale. Should we call it the sweat scale? I kind of like that, the sweat scale, where you're starting to get nervous. 7.5. And has sat there since the Dodgers got Scooble. I'm not going to worry about a down-the-road series. It's going to happen. It's going to happen in a 162-game season. Okay? I think to answer, going back to the football thing, I think to answer my questions, my favorite Packers person, it's Don Hudson. Honorable mentions, I've got many. I'm going to throw a Lombardi in there. I got to throw Favre in there. I got to throw Rodgers in there. I got to throw Driver in there. I got to throw White. And I got to throw Aaron Jones. Robert Brooks. Those are all my honorable mentions. Favorite memories, tough. Super Bowl 45 was awesome, just being able to watch it I was 22 out on my own, watch it with friends, having people over at my place. I still remember watching Super Bowl 31. I think another memory, it was in 5th grade leading up to Super Bowl 31. Our teacher threw a contest. How many Packer players could you name in 1 minute? And I won that by listing first and last name, writing down 20-some Packers players on that Super Bowl 31 team. So that's a favorite memory because it's a bragging right that I had in middle school. First game, of course, going to my first game with Hudson. Yeah, there's a lot of good memories. Best player, come on, it's DH. It's the Hudson. It's Don Hudson. The dude still doesn't get enough respect, for crying out loud. I don't want to hear anything about eras. No, you gotta look at it at the era they played, and the dude was absolutely dominating. I remember this one too. C-Bomb chiming in. Says favorite memory for me was when Yancey Thigpen dropped a touchdown to allow the Packers in the playoffs. This was in the 90s when the Packers were coming out of the cellar. Wasn't that Christmas Eve? Correct me if I'm wrong, C-Bob. Wasn't that Christmas Eve? Because I remember I was at a Christmas Eve party as a youngster, and everybody was watching it. We were all watching on TV, and I remember that drop. And just the house going nuts and crazy. I think that was Christmas Eve, or it was around Christmas because it was a Christmas get-together. Also says Brett Favre's my favorite Packer, but I've had several favorites in my lifetime. Paul Kaufman, Tim Harris, and his six shooters, Charles Woodson, Sterling Sharp. My fandom was formed when the Packers were awful, and it has been awesome to have 3 decades of competitive football with championship aspirations. Josh says Favre by far is my favorite. Favorite Packer memory is going to my first Packer game at 15 with my dad and watching the Packers hold Barry Sanders to get negative yards. C-Bomb says, correct. I was at my mom's for Christmas that night. So, okay, it was Christmas. Yeah, I remember that now. Yeah, I remember watching it. It was on a little TV in somebody's man cave downstairs at a Christmas Eve, Christmas get-together. I remember watching that. Oh, yeah. Yep. What are some of my earlier favorites? Oh, there's so many, isn't there? 107 years young, your Green Bay Packers yesterday. They don't look a day over 21. Right? Right. So what are you looking for tomorrow? What are you paying attention to? Or what are some of the players or position groups that you are going to be watching for this game tomorrow against the Steelers? And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of you say, it doesn't matter, it's preseason. Okay, I get it. But I got to tell you, I need something to be excited about with the corners. And this is the tough thing when it comes to preseason too, is because, okay, we know these teams aren't game planning, right? They're not going to open up their playbooks. They're not going to do this. They're not going to throw out their creative stuff. They're not going to go out there and It's going to be pretty vanilla. It's going to be pretty blah. But I think how I approach this when it comes to preseason games, can the guy win their one-on-ones? Are they doing their jobs? Are they making the tackles? Are they making the catch? Are they making the plays? Are they holding their blocks? Are they able to get after? You kind of have to look at it from an individual standpoint here, because there's not going to be any scheming going on. There's not going to be any of that. So you look at, can they win their one-on-ones? Are they doing their jobs? Are they winning their assignments? That's how I approach this. That's how I approach preseason games. From an offensive line standpoint, okay, is that guy doing his job? Is he opening up lanes in the running game? Is he holding his own in pass blocking, protecting the quarterback? From a cornerback standpoint, is he doing his job in coverage? Is he not getting burned? What's the communication like in the back end? Are they making tackles? Are they, or are they missing a bunch of tackles if they're the linebacker or defensive line? Is the defensive line able to generate some pressure and win their one-on-ones? So there's a lot that I still look at when it comes to these preseason games. And a lot of it is one-on-one stuff. 1v1. So is there a certain position group? Is there a certain group of players or player that you're going to be paying attention to? And it sounds like Jordan Love and some of the starters are going to be out there. How long would you play Jordan Love? How important do you think it is for Jordan Love to get snaps in each of these preseason games? A lot of it might just kind of depend on the flow of the game. If it's a quick 3 and out, where it's like handoff, maybe they go out there for another step, or maybe we take Matt LaFleur's comments and say it's more about getting mentally prepared for the game, leading up to that game, doing all of those other things like prepare for it, the pregame warm-ups, and then go in there, get in the huddle, just do 3 straight handoffs. All right, your day's done. And that just might be the case for Jordan Love and Matt LaFleur. But if you were Matt LaFleur, how are you approaching game 1 with your starters? Let me know. All right? Let me know. Let's take a quick break. We'll talk some more football. Don't forget, though, send me some what ifs. Send me some what are we doing here? All that good stuff. We'll take a quick break and be back in just a few minutes. When you're looking for your next vehicle, choose a dealership that knows and cares about the community it serves. Toyson Ford in Chippewa Falls is proud to be locally owned and operated, providing hometown service and a better buying experience for drivers throughout the Chippewa Valley. Whether you're looking for a new Ford, a quality pre-owned vehicle, or trusted service for the vehicle you already own, the team at Toyson Ford is there to help you out. Experience the difference of shopping local. Toyson Ford in Chippewa Falls, your hometown Ford dealer. And speaking of Toyson Ford, best of luck again to the Eau Claire Express tonight. They picked up a 3-1 victory in a win or go home Game 3 against La Crosse last night. The Express will be back at Carson Park tonight, taking on St. Cloud. Winner advances to the championship game. So let's make sure we pack Carson Park and make it a big-time home field advantage for the Express tonight. We'll get back to more baseball talk. Brewers getting set for Game 3 this afternoon against the Padres, trying to avoid the sweep. Got Robbie Ray going for the Padres, Dustin May going for the Brewers, a couple of pitchers with their new squads making their second starts with their new teams. But Packers also getting set for their first preseason game tomorrow, going up against Green Bay East, a.k.a. the Pittsburgh Steelers. Travel day today for Green Bay, so no training camp practice. Matt LaFleur the other day saying that the plan is right now that Jordan Love will play, but that remains to be seen how much he actually will play. Joe, how much are you playing Jordan Love and some of the starters tonight or tomorrow night in preseason game number 1?
Depending on how that first drive goes, one series or two. And so I don't think you keep him in there a long time. I think you get him to get into that feel for the game, get him into the pregame routine, get those starters in there. Hopefully, again, ideally, you get a good drive, everyone's healthy, you pull them. So it really does depend on what happens in that first drive. I like this. I personally think that this is the right move by LaFleur. I think, again, it's always that fine line between getting guys ready and protecting them from injury. And so, again, I like this move. I think this is an aggressive move. And I think this dovetails with what LaFleur has been looking to do this whole off season, and that's being aggressive. And I think they need to do this. So I'm excited to see the starters out there again. I don't think it's going to be long. Here's hoping for that first drive being successful, no injuries, and then get them off the field.
Going back to Friday night, family night, it was maybe for a lot of fans and people to kind of witness the first time what this team is looking like. And, one player that, didn't have the greatest night and really maybe hasn't had the greatest training camp so far is Keyshawn Nixon. Matthew Golden torched him on a deep play, and then the practice afterwards, he was practicing with the twos, even for a little bit with the threes. Yesterday, back with the ones. But, how long is that leash on Keyshawn Nixon, do you think, when it comes to this upcoming season? Because I feel like he's still going to open up as a starter, but if he struggles, could you see that leash being kind of, yanked and maybe he's benched and down to the twos?
Oh, absolutely. I think, again, best player needs to play. And right now, Cisse is turning some heads, and he looks like he definitely belongs. And so, it's best man plays, regardless of tenure. And I think, again, that this is also a message that I think Matt LaFleur can send to some of those starters. And that's, look, you're not guaranteed a spot. You need to come out and compete and perform because you're not guaranteed a spot. And I think, again, we talked about this this whole off season, that I think, the seat's a little warmer for LaFleur. Not hot, but I think the seat is a little bit warmer. And I think they're going to do whatever they need to do to put the best 11 out there. And if the best 11 is truly a rookie over somebody like Keyshawn Nixon, I say they have to do that.
Looking at, some of the other, we've been kind of asking, who are the position groups, who are some of the players that you're going to be watching or really kind of paying attention to tomorrow? What are some of those other groups or positions that you maybe are going to be focusing on the most?
I'm looking at the offensive line. I think that's going to be critical. And again, I think some of those linemen are actually going to play a lot longer than that first series. So when I talked about Jordan Love, I think now you're looking at that offensive line. I think they're going to play a while, and I think an offensive line has to. And again, you always talk about the best five out there. So that's a position group in particular that I think we need to keep an eye on. And we need to keep an eye, not just the starters, but who comes in first and who comes in where. Because right now, Jordan Morgan doing really well at that left tackle position. Anthony Belton, who is getting more reps at that swing tackle position, not doing well, especially in pass blocking. So that's a group I'm going to be looking at. I'm going to be looking at the rotation on the defensive line because I think that's going to be critical. So it's really the trenches for me at this point of the season. I want to see how the guys up front look. I want to see how this defense looks. And if we are going to see some of the blitz packages that have been reported in camp so far. But I think that's where my area of focus is going to be, is in the trenches, either offensive line or defensive line.
How much do you play Marshawn Lloyd in these preseason games, knowing, one, we haven't seen a lot of him, so it's a little bit of uncertainty, but two, you got to keep that guy healthy. So, it's kind of a fine line in trying to balance this. How would you approach Marshawn Lloyd with these preseason games?
I think you have to play him. This is a guy who has not had reps. And so I think you have to play him. You have to see him in game conditions. You have to see what you have. It's one thing to see a guy going up, in shells against your own team. It's another thing altogether seeing this guy on the field. So I think 100% he needs to play, and he needs to play a lot in situational football, not just P and 10, not just 1st and 10. He needs to play third down. You need to see what he can do in a blitz pickup. He needs to play third down because you need to see what he can do out of the backfield catching the ball. You need to put him in a position where it's game simulation as much as possible and see how he responds. Because it's not only the physical test of Marshawn Lloyd, it's also the mental test. And I think that's important to really look at from a standpoint of game time situations. Because it's different. Guys in shorts and running around in practice, it is different when the pads go on for real and the lights go on for Thursday Night Football.
How do you approach these preseason games? Like I approach them, because we're not going to see a lot of scheming. We're not going to see a lot of game planning. It's going to be a lot of, vanilla stuff. I kind of approach it like, okay, who's winning their one-on-ones? Who's beating their blocks? Who's making the block? Who's making the plays here? How do you approach preseason football? Because, a lot of fans are like, it's not real football. I don't get geeked up for this thing.
As a fan, I think it's fun to watch. And again, you have to look at it from almost a scouting perspective. But I think as a player, to have that opportunity to actually hit somebody in another jersey, I think it's great. I don't care what level you're at. I don't care if it's high school football with that first scrimmage. I don't care if it's youth football when you get a chance to pop pads against another team. I think it's critical to go out and show. So as a fan, you have to look at it almost – I'm going to look at it for this. I'm going to watch this game because I want to see, Jordan Love. I'm going to look at this game because I want to see how Brandon Cisse does. You can't look at this game in a real – like, okay, win or loss, I'm riding or dying with my team. I think you have to look at it differently. But the bottom line is, for a player, for a coach, when you get a chance to pop pads against someone else, that's the best feeling. You have worked your butt off this offseason for an opportunity to finally go out and hit somebody on the other team, hit somebody with another jersey. So, it's exciting, and I think it's good. And I think, again, you come out of this game, you want to see some things, you want to stay healthy, and you want to move on to the next week.
Albert Breer from Sports Illustrated, he's been doing a training camp kind of tour, and he was just recently with Green Bay. And one of the first things he noted in his notebook is one pretty clear thing is that the Packers have a whole lot of balance on offense, but need a guy or two to take a step forward as a difference maker. The most obvious candidate would be Tucker Kraft. But he also mentions Matthew Golden. He said out of the receiver group with Christian Watson, Jade Reed, and Matthew Golden as the top three, Golden has the best shot at breaking through. Would you agree that they need that quote-unquote difference maker within this offense, even if they are pretty balanced, at least on paper it looks like they're balanced?
100%. 100%. And you're not going to see Tucker Kraft out there, So, again, I think coming up to that Pittsburgh game last year, you started to see what this offense could look like with Tucker Kraft. Matthew Golden's a key. I think the reason that Dobbs moved on and Wicks moved on is to clear space and clear time for Matthew Golden. So I think this kid is the real deal. He reminds me a little bit of a faster version of a Reggie Wayne. And by that I mean he's a little bit smaller, so he's not this freak of nature that Christian Watson is. He's not 6'4", 200 pounds, and runs a 4.3, but this guy is fast, and this guy is strong. And I think one thing that's impressed me, at least in what I've seen so far, is his route running ability and his hands. So, yeah, I 100% agree that someone out of that group needs to separate themselves and do it on a consistent basis, because Jaden Reed has done it in flashes, but I don't think he's done it consistently. And again, I think Matthew Golden is going to be one of those coffee stir sticks that stirs the drink. And I think he is going to be critical. And I think that's, again, why Green Bay made the move this offseason they did.
Last question here for you before we let you go. We've been seeing a little bit more, hearing a little bit more about Jonathan Gannon. I mean, he's been a little bit more, I think, emotional. I mean, hyping up his defense at practice. What have been kind of your early glimpses, early thoughts on the Jonathan Gannon era with Green Bay?
It's exciting. It's exciting. And again, we'll see what happens when there's another opponent, but it's exciting to hear what's happening and to hear the fact that these different blitz combinations and these different blitz packages. And of course, Green Bay plays Minnesota game 1, and they're going to see a plethora, a potpourri, if you will, of blitzes coming from that Minnesota defense. And so, again, it's exciting to hear it, but it's hard to execute. So you talk about corner blitzes, and you talk about safety blitzes, and you talk about these blitzes coming, but if the quarterback hits the ball out and hits the hot read, you're screwed. And so it's exciting to hear. This is not an easy defense to execute, though. So, I'm excited to at this point, it's like one of those things that you come down Christmas morning, you see all these presents, and you're excited about all these presents. But when you get down to it and open it up, that's when you really get excited. And I think we're not going to really know that until game 1 against Minnesota. So everything I'm seeing, everything I'm hearing, it's the right vibe, it's the right feeling. True test is on the field come September.
Yeah, I know Minnesota just across the board named Kyler Murray their starter. And, I mean, week 1, Jonathan Gannon's going to prepare for a quarterback that he was the head coach of for the last couple of years. So I know we'll have plenty of time to talk about that. But I know the big topic conversation is going to be who has the advantage, Kyler Murray knowing Jonathan Gannon or Jonathan Gannon knowing Kyler Murray in that essence.
Yeah, it brings more intrigue to a big game to start the year. And again, I don't think Kyler Murray's that great of a quarterback. So, again, I just have never been a big believer in him. And look, Gannon's going to bring some different things. Kyler Murray is who he is. He's not going to be a 6'4" quarterback all of a sudden on that Sunday. Gannon, though, can bring different things to the table. So I think that's the cool part, is Gannon can bring some things that Kyler Murray hasn't seen. I think Kyler Murray can't bring things that Gannon hasn't seen. So right now I give the edge to Gannon in that matchup. But again, it remains to be seen, and we'll see what happens come that Sunday.
Mm-hmm. He's Joe DeGuano joining us, chatting some football. Joe, appreciate the time as always. Enjoy the preseason game number 1 tomorrow, and we'll recap it and preview game 2 next week when you're on, sir.
All right, brother. Take care. And it is football season, and it's time to get excited, man. So super excited, and the boys of fall are happening. So, Dan, have a great one. And also, great golf outing last week. Really good time. Appreciate it, brother. Take care, man.
You too. Appreciate the kind words, Joe. There he is, Joe DeGuano, joining us here this morning. Let's take a quick break, and we'll be back after these few words. When your vehicle needs attention, make it easy on yourself. Trust the team at AJM Automotive in Eau Claire. With 2 convenient locations, AJM Automotive makes taking care of your car, truck, or SUV super simple. Need service? Scheduling an appointment is quick and easy. Just visit ajmautomotiveservices.com and book online when it works for you. And if the unexpected happens and you're stuck on the side of the road, AJM's Towing Services is there to help get you and your vehicle where you need to go. From routine maintenance to unexpected repairs, AJM Automotive Services is your local partner for honest, dependable auto care. 2 locations, easy online scheduling, trusted service when you need it the most. AJM Automotive Services, keeping you moving. All right. So we've got, again, Brewers back at it this afternoon, trying to avoid the sweep at the hands of the San Diego Padres. You got Dustin May on the mound for the Brew Crew. You got Robbie Ray going for the Padres, 2 pitchers who were acquired by their respective teams by the trade deadline. We've been asking all morning long, how concerned are you, the sweat scale, if you will, with where the Brewers are at this point? They're dealing with some injuries. They got a tough portion of their schedule. They're wrapping up with the Padres, a better Padres team now. You got the Dodgers starting tomorrow. The Cubs are just 4 games back. They're playing good baseball. Cubs schedule easier. On a sweat scale, how much you sweat? How much you nervous? I'd say the average has been up to a 6. It started off, if we kind of averaged all the messages out, it's been about a 5. Then it moved up to a 5.5. I would say if I was kind of mathing it in my own head, it's probably up to a 6 based off these averages. How about for those that didn't chime in, where are you at on that scale? Yeah, I'm probably 5.5, 6 too. I'll be honest. I mean, when you factor in everything, and I'm not saying that it's going to be collapse or Brewers aren't making the postseason or nothing like that, but at this current point in time, when you factor into everything, we're sitting here August 12th. We're nearly to the final quarter of the regular season. We're about 74% of the way. So we're almost there. But you look at everything at this point in time. Brewers are dealing with some injuries, specifically 2 position players, where you've got Andrew Vaughn getting a start at third. You got Bryce Terang starting at short. Not saying Bryce Terang can't do it, but you're kind of plugging in different spots to just keep your head above water. So you're dealing with that. Your offensive players like a Contreras, a Yelich, they've been struggling to get going from the plate here. You factor that in. You factor in that the Cubs are playing better. You factor in the schedule. Yeah, I'm a little nervous. I'm a little nervous. And I think it's okay to be. I'm not pushing the panic button, but yeah, I'm sweating a little bit, and I'm kind of looking behind my shoulder. I'm kind of peeking at the standings, doing a little scoreboard watching, and being like, okay, Nationals, help us out here. Let's get a couple wins now against the Cubbies. Okay, Cardinals. I know Brewers fans, it pains us, doesn't feel right to cheer on the Cardinals, but you got the Cardinals going up against the Cubs after the Cubs finish up their series with the Nationals. It's like you got to root for the Cardinals in this one. Need a little help just to get through this, just to get through this injury spell. Kyle Harrison did not have a good night last night. 8 earned runs. But Kyle Harrison has done more good than bad this year, so I'm confident at this point that he's going to bounce back and have a better performance in his next start. Not every pitcher is going to go out there and absolutely shell and dominate in every single one of his starts. Pitchers are going to have off nights. Control's just not there. The command's just not there. It's going to happen. And I look at the overall sample size from what we've seen so far from Kyle Harrison this year, and I'm like, okay, I feel like he's going to bounce back. But with the injuries to the offense and the lack of production from guys like Contreras as of late, or a Yelly, it puts a ton more pressure, a lot more pressure on these pitchers. And when you look at the upcoming matchups, so we know Dustin May, Robbie Ray today. Don't overlook this game. I mean, the Brewers can't overlook this game. Don't get swept. Take care of business game 1. Keep up with your mindset. Keep up with your approach that Pat Murphy has been preaching ever since he has been manager. 1 game at a time. Win tonight. Do that. Then we can focus on, okay, this Dodger series, which we know the pitching matchups for this one. You got Shane Drowan going up against Sasaki in game 1. Robert Gasser, he's getting the game 2 start. Yamamoto's getting that start across the way. We're not going to get Tarek Skubal versus Mizorowski, if anybody's wondering. It's going to be Mizorowski versus Robleski. And then Logan Henderson versus Tarek Skubal. That is an intriguing matchup in itself, not just because it's game 4 of that series, but because, well, if the Brewers, by all reports and rumors, if they would have included Logan Henderson in the deal, Logan Henderson could be pitching for the Detroit Tigers right now, and Skubal might be pitching for the Brewers. So that's just a fun matchup storyline looking at Game 4. We got a few days until that, but it's, if you're Logan Henderson, you're probably, let's face it, we're all human too, but he's an athlete. Anybody who's played, I don't care at what level, you get amped up for certain games, certain starts, certain opponents. And if you're Logan Henderson, that's the fine line, like, okay, Brewers decide to keep me instead of maybe acquiring Skubal. I want to go out there and prove that the Brewers made the right choice. So you're going to get a little amped up. You might be a little motivated, but at the same time, it's that fine line, like, don't get too wound up. Don't get too motivated, so where you lose control, and then you're not that pitcher, that good pitcher that we have seen all season long. But it's a fun storyline heading into that Game 4, isn't it? Whew. But we'll have plenty of time to preview that series. Let's focus on tonight. Get that Game 1. Game 1 victory against the Padres this afternoon. All right, we got to take our final break for this second hour. Running a little behind, but that's okay. Coming up at 8 o'clock, we'll catch up with Ty from Slab Factory. So that'll kick off the third quarter on this Wednesday morning. But a quick break, and we'll be back in just a couple minutes to wrap up hour 2. Nobody plans for an accident, but when the unexpected happens, you want a team that you can trust. And at Superior Auto Body in Eau Claire, they are proud to be locally owned and operated, providing quality collision repair and hometown service to drivers throughout the Chippewa Valley. Their experienced team takes pride in every repair, treating your vehicle with the same care and attention that they would give their own. When you need collision repair that you can count on, choose the people who live and work right here in your community. Superior Auto Body in Eau Claire, locally owned, locally trusted, and here to get you back on the road. Hey, also want to mention, too, since we just wrapped up our golf outing to help support Backyard Dreams, if you know of anybody that could use, or a team, an athlete, a kiddo, or anybody that could use the help for Backyard Dreams, please reach out. All right, just visit our website, hit us up with an email, shoot me a message, whatever works for you. We want to help. All right, so please reach out. If Backyard Dreams can maybe help, kiddo get some football cleats if they can't afford football cleats for the upcoming season, or soccer stuff, basketball, whatever it may be, baseball, whatever it may be, or to go to a camp. Reach out. That's what Backyard Dreams is all about. So you can send me a message, hit me up with an email, or just go to our website and shoot us a message through there. So let Backyard Dreams, Superior Auto Body, our official Backyard Dreams partner too. So let's help out. Okay. We just got a couple minutes left at the top of the hour, so we're going to kick off the third hour chatting with Ty from Slab Factory. Slab Factory just had their Packs and Pints show event this past Sunday, so we'll hit that up. And then we got some more baseball talk as we get set for Brewers-Padres Game 3 of this series. On that sweat scale, Zach says on the video stream he's a solid 6 on a scale of 1 to 10. Where are you at? He's at a 6. That's pretty much where the average is at. So we'll talk some more baseball. We'll talk some more football. Hey, we got more preseason games. Everybody's favorite football team is going to be in action for this week. So I know we already had the Hall of Fame game, but now everybody's going to be in action. So we'll dabble into that a little bit more. Continue to send me some fun what-ifs. And what are we doing here? I threw out that question. Yesterday was the Packers' birthday, 107 years young. I threw out the 3 options. Favorite player, your favorite memory, your opinion on who you think the best Packer player is. Let me throw one more at you. Okay, let me throw one more fun one at you. And you can go on my Facebook page and comment on there. You can hit me up with a text. The most underrated. The guy that maybe isn't a Packer Hall of Famer, or maybe he is, or just, most underrated Packer. The guy that doesn't get enough attention. The guy that doesn't get enough love. That could be a personal favorite, or you just think, like, dude was better than what people give him credit for. Let's have a little fun on this 107th birthday for the green and gold. Because I was watching some clips. I'm like, dang, I forgot about, like Preston, the returner. It's like, geez, forgot about he was